if you ride a dirt bike, you know who I am. If you ride a dirt bike, you know what the Moto Academy is. I think we've accomplished that, right? But
Yep.
unless you're listening to the long form podcast or you're in the app and you really get the full taste of what we are, who I am, what we are, then you don't know fully, right? And I think that even a 20-minute live stream on Instagram, you can see quickly that I'm just real and helpful, and I just want to be there to help others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, Jeff asked a good question last on that episode 158.5, where he said, what was the question, Ethan? He asked, how often do you think back on things that you've said or opinions that you have or have had and realize that you have a different opinion now, or that you realize that you were wrong? And it was a great question. It was also kind of a very relevant question to ask me of all people, because I'm very much one to just, I'm not off the cuff, but I'm not afraid to say anything. And I'm never saying things to offend people. But a good example I thought of after that podcast ended was when I said that I think a girl could win a 250 Supercross championship in the future, right? That's a very bold thing to say. And people thought I was crazy. Yeah. A lot of people made fun of me for saying that. That would be a great example of, do I reflect back on that right now and think that I was wrong? No, but I'm also very open-minded to the fact that I could be convinced otherwise. I think the live streams can give you a sense of more of who I am as that person, right? Like somebody commented through and they kept writing, "You're gay." And and then they wrote, "You're gay."
Wow.
You're gay. Like they kept commenting it through.
How well they know you.
And you're right. And I responded back really nicely, gave him a shout out, like not in a sarcastic way. And
yeah,
I think it's even little stuff like that. Like you just see what type of people we are at the Moto Academy. Right.
Yeah, but I think it ties in nicely to that kind of, that whole character thing that we play. You know, I know me and you talked the other day about that Jim Carrey thing, right? Where he talks about the version that we are, or the person that we are, is a character we're playing, right? So that is our name, our job, and our kind of almost our reputation, and everything is all tied up in this character we're playing. And I think often we kind of step into that character in certain scenarios. Like, for example, when you're on a live stream, you're a certain character. When somebody's watching you on a live stream and they're hidden behind a keyboard, they're a certain character, right? So, and I know that's that character thing of Jim Carrey, you brought it to me. So I was wondering if you wanted to quickly talk about that, because I've been kind of trying to unpack that the last few days.
That was actually part of my answer to Jeff when he asked that question, was that I think the key, the difference was, if you rewind 4 years ago, I wouldn't consider myself arrogant, but I was egotistical in that I identified with my ego, right? I relied on external circumstance to validate whether I was good or bad in a certain situation, or deserving of a certain thing or not. So I was completely dependent, and I was a comment or somebody saying something to me would affect me, because that I would place value in that, right? Because I was the character. There was no separation. I was the character. When you live like that, which many, many, many people do, most people do, you tend to be defensive over things that you say, because that is part of your identity, right? So you'll kind of argue something to death, even if you're not totally sure you believe it or not. You'll just kind of keep going and keep defending it. And that's what I said. Now it's very much the opposite of that for me, where I will make a decision to say something. I don't just float in the middle, right? Because that's not productive. I'll steer a direction and head a direction and say something and commit to it. But if you approach me a week later or a day later and wanted to have a conversation about it, or in that moment and wanted to have a conversation about it, I'm not attached to anything that I say, because it doesn't define me. I'm not attached to any action that I do, because that doesn't define who I am. I'm already different. By the time we're reflecting on that conversation, I'm already a different person. So I'll play a character, but I am not the character. If you guys enjoyed that podcast clip, you can listen to full episodes on Apple Music and Spotify. And make sure, if you haven't already, join our community inside of the Moto Academy app. Go to themotoacademy.com today. I'll see you guys inside the community.